SASS allows you to break your code into small and manageable pieces, and this is a great way that you can modularize your CSS and keep things easier to maintain. What we use in SASS is something called a partial, and a partial is simply a file that starts with an underscore. The underscore is going to let SASS know that the file is only a partial file and that it actually isn't going to generate into a CSS file. You use SASS partials in the same way in which you use the @import directives. They just will work a little bit differently. So let me show you what this looks like. So here I have the exact same file. Here's my HTML, here's my project1.sass, and I'm using the @import and importing in the reset.sass file, and here is my reset.sass file. I went ahead and deleted all of the CSS, so currently I don't have any CSS. And if I try to look at my page in the browser, you can see that it is showing without any of the styling because no CSS file actually exists. What we're going to do is we're going to rename the reset.sass file. So I'm just going to give it the same exact name, but I'm going to start it with an underscore. So now this file is called underscore reset.sass. I'm going to go into my project1.sass file, and we're going to update the @import statement so that it also is pointing to the underscore reset.sass file. We'll save our SASS file, and I'm going to go into Koala and force it to compile these. So I'll go ahead and just click refresh, and that should go ahead and write the CSS file. I also need the resets CSS file written, and remember I didn't make any changes to that file, so I'll have to go ahead and click compile to force it to compile everything. And at this point, if we come back into brackets and I refresh my file tree, you can see that I have my project.css file. And notice that nowhere there exists a reset.css file. Remember, in our reset.sass file, we had our reset rules. So here's my reset rules. If I go into my project1.css, here are the reset rules. They start right here and they complete right here. So those files are getting written, but it is not writing a separate CSS file. It's getting this information, pulling it into project1.css, but it's not actually writing any additional CSS files. So this is really handy, and what I feel is one of the best uses of the SASS @import directive. It allows us to create separate files that can contain all of the standard definitions for our site, whatever we would normally declare within SASS or CSS, and then we can just include them when we need them. So this is a great example of the dry programming. We know that the sole purpose of these files is to just be included inside of other SASS files. There's no point in transpiling them directly into CSS. We don't even need them produced as CSS. So all we have to do to ensure that SASS is not going to transpile these is just to prepend the name with an underscore. Any name that you want to be a partial is going to start with an underscore. And these partials, we can then include them in other SASS files in the normal way, just using the @import. And just as a side note, you might see the partials actually being pulled in without the underscore. That actually will work too. So you don't actually need the underscore there, but I like to include it because it makes more sense to me. But it doesn't actually need them. SASS will include them and render them out with or without the underscore. And when you structure your SASS and your CSS in this way, it's not going to have any sort of performance penalties. You're going to just get clean, standalone CSS at the end of the compilation process, and it's going to make your code less repetitive, easier to maintain, and it's great because you can just break things apart. I'll show you in the next videos how we can start to organize our files by using partials.